And good afternoon, I'm Tracy Sinclair. With me is Michaela Clark. She is our senior producer and also does the series The Fault in the Facts. And this is the 61st anniversary of the 1964 earthquake.
Yes.
I was not here, I was not alive then yet, but what I find interesting, we did a big story last year on the 60th anniversary. We're getting farther and farther away from it, and we're having fewer and fewer people that remember it, because the people that were here at that age were often too young if they're still around. So
in the past few years, I've been reaching out to many people who have survived the earthquake, the resulting tsunamis, and I'm just finding, like you said, there's less and less people, or they're getting younger and younger when they survived it. So, 5 to 15 years old.
Right. Jackie Purcell was here, and she was, I think, she was very young. So but she says she has a distinct memory, even though I think she was only about 3 maybe when it happened. But she does have a very distinct memory. One of the stories that we had last year was about, he was a young boy at the time, in Valdez. Really interesting story. That's you can find those on our website, along with our special last year about the 60th anniversary, because also really interesting stuff. This was, just devastating across Alaska, felt throughout South Central.
Yes, extensive damage in Anchorage, of course, landslides, and then just from the shaking in general, and then Valdez, Seward, the Valley, Whittier, all of these places, extensive damage.
Yeah, and of course the tsunami was one of them. So that story that we talked about, the gentleman in Valdez, he had he had not been at the dock when the tsunami hit. But this is a different gentleman. We've got a really special story that Michaela has brought to us. So tell us a little bit about this person we're going to meet here.
Yeah, so a few years ago, or I guess in that last special, we talked with Dan Kendall, who was in Valdez, early preteen age, and this is his friend that the story today is about. And so they were in different places of Valdez during the same moment. So, we're only hearing Wade's story today, but it was kind of cool for me to go back and hear from both of them in different spots during the same time and see where they were.
Okay, so let's introduce you to Wade, who survived the tsunami in Valdez.
60-some years ago, on March 27th, at 5:36 p.m., I was in Valdez, Alaska.
It started as a day no one knew they would remember forever, including then 11-year-old Wade Holes.
Valdez was a unique place, and that was when a ship came in. That was our connection to the outer world.
Situated more than 100 miles from Anchorage as the crow flies, a ship docking in Valdez was a cause for excitement.
Everybody would go down and take their family and their kids. They'd go down to the docks and watch the China, the steamship.
While many in the little town were at the docks that evening, Wade and his friend Louis were farther from the shore.
We were done with school. If I could have helped him deliver his paper route, he was going to come to my house, spend the night, and we were going to play all Saturday.
In that moment, Wade and Louis found themselves only about 50 miles from the epicenter of the world's second largest quake.
I looked up at the mountains that were above, and this a horrible noise that's hard for me to describe.
The pair abandoned their attempt to enter a nearby building.
And then a crevasse was opening right near me and Louis. At that age, we had no concept of what was happening.
The shaking continued to rock the region for minutes.
I was standing right there, seeing a crevasse open up and close and open and close.
A pet dog caught in the fissure.
I saw Tyke, the back end of him, go into a crevasse, and he was just hanging on to the top ground with his 2 front paws. And I saw the crevasse close on it. And then it opened back up again, and old Tyke, I had never seen him move so fast.
Louis' dad spotted the boys.
He was running to catch to his son, and I swear the road that he was on, he was going from side to side in my vision.
After the ground stopped shaking, Louis and Wade headed home, not knowing an underwater landslide had triggered a tsunami that had taken out the docks, and many of the people greeting the China with it.
I was not aware of all the disaster that had taken place down at the docks. And I was not aware of all of my friends that had lost their lives. Up to that point, my parents didn't know if I was at the docks too.
Wade's name could be found on the missing persons list.
Finally, I got there to my mom and sisters, and my dad came running in, and he says, Wade, where have you been?
His mom whisking the family off to higher ground, concerned a bigger tsunami was approaching.
When the tsunami hit, I was sitting with my mom and two sisters in a car on Thompson Pass.
His dad, the town's postmaster, staying behind, preparing for waves to submerge Valdez.
He saved everybody's mail that were in the mailboxes, probably Social Security checks, things that helped people survive. And he went down and stayed in town and put those things in a waterproof, fireproof safe.
The devastation continued. A few hours later, fuel storage tanks burst into flames.
I saw that town on fire. It seemed like the whole town was on fire, and it burnt for days.
Six decades later, Wade relived the quake's impacts.
A lot of bad came from that earthquake. I lost friends.
A laminated list of lives lost, still with him today.
What name on here means the most to you?
The Stewarts, because I knew all the kids from school. And I was excited that they had just joined the church.
Taking a moment to recall those who didn't survive.
Then I realized the significance of the Great Alaska Earthquake.
60-some years later, these are moments Wade will never forget.
There are impressions that are seared into my brain. Like I said, it happened yesterday.
I'm crying, and I know I'm known for as a crier here, but that was really a moving story. I mean, the way he still gets so emotional. How many people did end up dying?
You know, in Valdez, about 30-some people were killed. Most of them, if not all of them, were swept off the docks. In total, it depends where you get your numbers, but NOAA says 139 lives lost were attributed to the earthquake and its after effects. 15 of those were from the earthquake itself, and 124 were from the tsunami. In Alaska, 106 were killed from the tsunami, 13 in California, and 5 in Oregon. This tsunami went really far down there and caught some people off guard.
Yeah, that was, it was such a major event, such, as you said, the second largest earthquake recorded that we know about. I mean, it shook the world and really did impact. And I apologize, I do have tears in my eyes from that story. That was a lovely story.
Thank you.
We've talked about this, about how, we are losing people that have the memories. What is your next dream story? Who do you want to find? We did get a post saying that Governor Bill Walker has a story about being in Valdez during the earthquake. So that would be interesting to hear.
Yeah, one of my ideas, I haven't made a lot of progress on it so far. I've been in this story and some others, but I want to tell the stories of those people who didn't survive. I've found some leads on Facebook of people here and there. There's a bunch of stories out there that are connected, and the people who tried to save them or things like that.
Well, still a lot of stories to tell. Thank you so much. And again, the story from last year, Dan Kendall's story, that's also an amazing tale to listen to. And just the special.
Yeah, so there's 2 places you can find Dan Kendall's story if you're interested. It is in that special, which is posted online on our website, and it's also in the Fault in the Facts section on our website as well.
Yeah, so really recommend seeing both of those as well, and we're going to get this one posted by itself so that you can watch that again, because it was a really lovely, well-told story. So thank you very much. It is, again, the 61st anniversary of the Great Alaska Earthquake. It happened 1964, and you still can see the impacts of it. You see ghost forests down by the highway, a number of different sites.
The slopes in downtown Anchorage,
Right.
those are from landslides.
And the you don't see much effect over at Earthquake Park anymore. When I first got to Alaska, you could see that an earthquake had happened. It was definitely changed, but now not so much. It's sort of grown over. But I mean, it has been 61 years, so that's what happens to nature. So thank you very much for joining us. Of course, we will see you tonight. We don't have a newscast at 6 o'clock.
We still have our 5 o'clock and our 10 o'clock.
And so that's where you'll want to go to catch your day's news. But we are preempted at 6 o'clock. So join us then, and thank you for joining us.